Hello everyone and welcome to a really wild game that was just played in the TCEC Superfinal Season 17, the top chess engine competition. It's Stockfish with the white pieces against Leela Chess 0. And as usual in the Superfinal they go head-to-head 100 games. First Stockfish has the white pieces in a certain opening in a certain line, then we repeat that exact same line and opening with Leela having the white pieces. So this is really an incredible game. Like really a Barbarian style game, so I hope you enjoy it, and let's dive straight into it. Stockfish with the white pieces opens with e4, and I will mention at which point they start using their own moves. So c5, the Sicilian defense, knight f3, we have e6, d4c captures, knight captures, and knight to f6. We have knight to c3, and a6 now. The Scheveningen variation is on the board. Sorry, not a6. First d6 was played, not a6. And only after g4, still the Scheveningen, g4, and now a6. So this is the variation. And then now they go into their own moves. So Stockfish continues with the g5. Further advances the pawn, kicks back the knight. Knight d7 by Leela. And now this position has been reached by human players plenty of times, and a lot of moves were played here, but the move Stockfish plays, the move a3, has never been played before here, at least not in top tier tournaments, so it is as of move 8 that we have a completely new game. Knight to c6 by Leela, continuing development, bishop to e3, developing and defending. We have knight d to e5, shifting the knight to, sorry, that's not a d knight, knight d e5. Shifting the knight to a more central square, and now bishop to e2. Again, just developing. Knight captures on d4, trading off a pair of knights. Queen captures, and now knight back to c6, pushing the queen back. We have queen to d2 by Stockfish, and the bishop to e7, putting pressure on the g5 pawn. h4, further defending it, and now b5. Leela starts expanding on the queen side. We have h5, continuing to push the pawns even further on the king side, and now queen to a5. A usual move in the Sicilian when you're pinning this knight, and if the knight moves, you can offer maybe a queen trade. h6 by Stockfish, and now g6. Seems like Stockfish learned a lot from its match against Alpha Zero. We have castles by white now that all of the pawns have been pushed here, and it seems like it could be a bit dangerous because the pawns in front of the king are so far advanced, but in engine chess the engines really just don't care. Leela also castles here. And we have f4, just further advancing, and just let's see what happens. So the queen is no longer needed on a5, queen back to c7, and now rook to f2. Stockfish prepares rook a to f1 to double up on the f-file. He wants to play bishop to g4 and then bust open the position with f5. We have rook to b8, preparing b4, and now rook a to f1, just continuing with the plan. Bishop to d7, continuing development, and now bishop to g4. We have rook b to c8 now, and bishop to h3. If this was a human game, I would say bishop to h3 is a waiting move, waiting to see what black will play, but here I have no idea what it does. Perhaps if the g-file somehow opens up, you want to have maybe the g-file ready for your rooks, but other than that, I have no good explanation for bishop to h3. But okay, if any of you guys have an idea, do share in the comments. So queen to b7 by Leela, again, remaneuvering, preparing b4, and now knight to a2, waiting for b4 to be pushed, so the knight also guards it with the queen. And here we have a5. Now Leela further prepares b4, and now knight back to c3. And here we have rook to b8. And now b4 by white, not allowing black to push b4. We have a captures on b4, a captures, and now rook f to c8. Still offering the b4 pawn, but if captures, then rook to b1, and you could have some problems here. Not problems, but white will most likely regain the pawn. And not much to do there for black. So instead, Leela goes rook f to c8 before deciding whether to capture or not, and now f5 by Stockfish. And it's a really powerful push. You don't really gain anything by capturing. You don't want to open up the g-file. If captures by the e-pawn, then you can go knight d5 because you no longer have control over the d5 square, which is really important in the Sicilian. And after bishop to e6, you will get e captures on f5, captures on d5, captures here. And now, again, you are about to get crushed. If you allow this, then the rooks and the queen pile up on the f7 pawn. So you might try and trade queens here, but it will not be enough, because after captures, captures, white just captures here, and now this is a threat. You also opened up an attack towards the rook, and black's position is falling apart. So after f5, Leela goes knight to e5 instead. But still f captures on g6. We have f captures on g6 and now bishop to f4, preparing queen d4 to pile up on the knight on e5. Rook to f8, preparing to counter double rooks on the f-file, and now queen to d4. With the idea of captures and captures. We have queen to c7 now, adding another defender to the e5 square, but now comes a beautiful, beautiful move by Stockfish, knight to d5. Again, another signature, pretty much Sicilian move, knight d5, this beautiful sacrifice. And it's not easy to decline the sacrifice, because if the queen doesn't help the pawn guard the e5 square, for example, if you move the queen, then it's just captures, captures, and captures, and there is no way to stop mate. Well, there is, but you will suffer severe material loss to even try and defend this mate. And eventually you will again get mated. So after knight d5, we have e captures on d5. Now this diagonal opens up. Still, okay, now that I see this position, the bishop might be better on h3, as the knight, when it comes to e5, attacks the g4 square. So maybe this bishop to h3 was an improvement in the position before starting this whole madness. Probably. But okay, bishop captures on d7, we have queen captures on d7, and now we have queen captures on d5 with check. Now, if you go king to h8, then bishop captures on e5, check wins the game. You cannot recapture because you lose the queen, and you can just start giving up material. Bishop f6, captures, captures, and after you capture, you are just up a whole rook, and black does not have perpetual check, because you can easily escape here. Queen check, king e3, queen h3 check, now you just block, and next move it's rook f8 and game over. So after queen d5 check, Leela does the only thing possible, that is knight to f7. Save your piece, keep an extra piece, and hopefully avoid checkmate. But now Stockfish goes queen d4. Again, threatens checkmate, and there is not much to be done here. So what can Leela play? Well, there is a defense. However, if you try the same old knight e5, it again runs into the same idea of bishop captures on e5. And now, again, there's not much to do. You cannot capture. Because of queen captures, and queen g4 check. Again, you don't have any perpetuals, because after king h1, queen h3, you just bring back the bishop, and that's it. There's no defense against mate. You'd have to give up your queen, captures, captures, and captures with check. Again, threatening mate. Black would have to go back, not there, obviously. Rook to f7 to defend mate, but still the game is lost for black. Queen and bishop against two rooks and bishop, with white pawns so far advanced. It would be a much easier game for white. So after queen to d4, bishop to f6, Leela gives back the piece in order to, when the knight moves, the queen guards the g7 square, so white will not be able to deliver mate. So queen captures on f6, now comes knight to e5, now the queen defends against mate, but now just queen g7 check. Stockfish calculates precisely. We have queen captures, pawn captures now, attacking here. Problem is, if you capture with the king, king captures on g7, then you get bishop captures on e5 with check. And after captures, the trades are in favor of white. Captures, you will just capture, capture. And this is now a winning endgame for white. So remember that, because it might come in handy in the future. So after h captures on g7, rook f to e8 was played, avoiding this trade. But now comes bishop captures on e5 again. Now, again, you have to decide whether you want to capture with the pawn or with the rook. The problem with capturing with the rook is that just rook to f8 check is very problematic. Now, you will either capture the pawn and lose a whole rook, or you will capture the rook, and now white brings a queen into the game and delivers checkmate. So instead, after bishop captures, pawn captures was played, but now feel free to pause the video and try to finish this game with white while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on paying attention, as we are about to enter the position that we've already discussed. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's rook to f8 check, and the king and pawn endgame is winning. Rook captures was played. We have rook captures on f8 with check, rook captures, pawn captures, queen with check, king captures, and now king to f1. And the point is, this king and pawn endgame is winning for white, since the white pawn is controlling both of black's pawns, and white will always have this c4 move followed by advancing the b pawn. So the game continued, king f7, we have king e2, and now king back to f8. But just to show you what happens if you create a passed pawn of your own, let's say h5, g captures, and now king g8, with the idea of pushing this pawn, doesn't really work, because c4, and after b captures, b5. And now this pawn is not as nearly as close as it should be to be a factor in the game. The white king can easily stop the c pawn, and the black king cannot help against both the h pawn and the b pawn. So this would be winning for white. So after king e2, we have king back to f8, but now c4. B captures on c4 and king d2. We have king to g7. Again, repeating, but king to e7 doesn't really do anything. If king c3, then king d6, king captures, and now you're just gonna push this pawn, let's say to b7. The king will have to go after it, and then the white king just picks up all of these pawns and wins the game easily. So after king d2, king g7 was played by Leela. But now b5. We have king to f8. Now Leela just starts playing some moves as engines usually do. We have b7, king to e8. We have king to c3, still waiting with the promotion. King e7, b8, queen now. h6 was played, captures, and then now king f7. We have h7, g5 now, and h8 queen. We have king to e6 and queen b captures on e5, and it was in this position that Leela chess 0 resigned the game. And what a victory for Stockfish. So it begs the question, did Stockfish do something remarkable here? This is only game 3 of their 100-game match. First 2 games were drawn. Now, either this is a Stockfish brilliancy, we're going to see. Depends on how Leela will deal with the white pieces in this exact same opening. They're already playing it, and I already checked it out. It's really a wild game, so anything could happen there. But we're gonna see either it was a Stockfish brilliancy, or this line, this particular line, is busted, and the white should always gain a huge advantage from the opening, as it allows for some brilliant tactical play. But we'll see. Will Leela equalize with the white pieces, or will Stockfish take the lead very early on in the match? So that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. Another engine game, standard engine versus neural net. So I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Raul Ruiz for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Morphy saga, checking up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world, such as the top chess engine competition. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.